Welcome to the Apex, everyone. I'm your host, Zell, and we're here to fill your weekly knife news need with our sharp news. And starting this week with our highlighted content, we have Pete from over at Cedric and Ada Outdoors. This week, it's 14C28N Extreme Edge Extreme Performance to the Macks. That's M-A-C-K-S. Anyhow, I highlighted Pete and his to the max stuff because I really want to bring out the fact that you can drastically change the performance of a piece of steel with the bevels. How the factory grinds it or how you grind it as a knife maker. With how the edge is put on the knife. How it's sharpened, what angles are used, whether there's a micro bevel at the top. And this video is actually a very good showing of how that micro bevel can really change things. And I really appreciate Pete doing this because, you know, he just almost kind of wasted a knife in this one. But it's for bro science and educational purposes. And from the blog and print world, from KnifeNews, we have Lucas Burnley bringing us a kitchen knife. It's called the Nita, and that is, well, it's just cool. You need to go check it out. I don't know. There's a Kickstarter for it. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm very, very tempted. And then Three Rivers Manufacturing. We've been talking about them a lot, and for good reason. KnifeNews has a little short article about them releasing the Neutron and I can't remember the other one, but it's the little just under 2-inch slip joint that has the forward finger choil. Three Rivers is taking a different path. Instead of trying to build big, fancy, you know, I don't even know how to put it. It seems like anymore that the knife companies are in a competition of how cool they can do something. And many times the performance of the knife gets left out. Well, not TRM. Every one of their knives are performers. They use good steel. They use good hardware, good components. They're learning all the time. They're willing to take input. And this Neutron, guys, it's gonna be, unless Marianne changes a couple of things I saw, it's not going to be just an absolute grand slam, but it's about as close as you're going to get for a performance knife of anything new that's out there. So, anyhow, KnifeNews will tell you about the two new models, and then BladeReviews.com gives us a Kershaw Atmos review. Kershaw Atmos is a little knife that's actually getting a lot of play because I need to get one in my hands because apparently it's just built pretty darn well. And then, moving on to video, from the Birds, over in their IV this week, they have the Artisan Cutlery Sharks. The big one and the small one. And those are pretty freaking cool, guys. They also have the Kizer Söze Prototype. They ask, is it a true double-edged frame lock? You'll have to go see what the Birds have to say about it to find out. And right here on the Zelrick YouTube channel, I talked about the Wee Knife Company Vindex. That is the rather large, it's a larger 4-point-something inch, I believe, if I remember correctly, fixed blade. It's kind of a mix of that fighting fixed blade and camp fixed blade. Pretty cool knife. Check it out. Bestech Hornet is the other one I did, and that is a cleaver, guys, and it's a good-looking cleaver at a reasonable price. And, you know, I'm not much of a cleaver guy, but that one makes me almost want to be because they have just went all out with it. Go check out the video to find out more. And then old Slicey Dicey, man. Brian has been busy this week, and he even bought some stuff that didn't Brian spec. Anyhow, he starts out with the Reate Valhalla. Really cool knife. I handled one of those at Blade Show. I decided it really wasn't for me, but still a very cool knife. And then he has the WE 809 Practic. And that is another new venture from WE that we'll talk about here soon. And it's a liner lock with G10 but M390 and running right around 140 bucks. Just a very EDC shaped knife. Still has the titanium hardware, still has a titanium pocket clip, but stepping back to G10 and a liner lock, but just go see what Slicey's got to say about it, and then I'll have a video up on it here pretty soon. And then he also has a Weed Rectifier and Practic buyer's guide. Why? Because are those two knives really the same? Well, no, they're not really the same, but there's a lot of people that are curious between the two because of the price point. And Slicey will go over all those things with you that are pertinent to those two knives and get you the right thing. Or get you pointed in the right direction. I'm going to have to adjust the microphone here, guys, because that is way, way, way too far from me. And there we go. And now those little springs, I know those of you listening can't watch this, but that little mic is just going to run itself up slowly but surely, because those springs have got a little bit of tension on them. But that's okay. You guys watch that, and let's talk about the Bestech Slipjoint Prototype. Still don't have a name for this guy, but here's the deal, guys. Bestech is trying to figure out how many of those to make, and I want one. So get over there and watch Brian's video, and then contact Bestech on their Instagram, any of their Instagrams. They have 2 Bestech Instagrams, and they have a Bestech USA Instagram. They have an email address. Let them know if you're interested, because if you don't let them know if you're interested, and I end up not getting one, well, I'm going to blame you guys. Yeah. So don't do me wrong, guys. Because there's actually a slip joint out there that I want. So, you know, help me out here. Anyhow, and the last thing from Slicey Dicey is the discussion topic of what is a gentleman's folder. And that is a very good question in this day and time. Because, you know, I have my ideas about it, but anymore it's really varied. It's not cut and dried. And, well, just go see what old Brian's got to say about it. And Dr. Frunkey, he brings us the ZT-0393 Final Diagnosis. And I don't know about, I did not watch all of Dr. Frunkey's video because I want to get my video on the 393 out there. And I hope that his final diagnosis is much like mine. This is a ZT that I very, very much like. It's different from many of the ZTs I've had in my hands in the past. It's got a solid feel to it, a lot more solid feel, and a lot more confidence inspiring. And yes, that is not the stock clip. That's a Hinderer clip that I anodized to match the knife. Anyhow, for those of you listening, I took a regular old Hinderer clip and I put it on the 0393 and anodized it blue to somewhat match the knife itself. And then from Staza 23, we have the Bestech Skyhawk along with some prototype goodness. And he's got some of the cooler Bestech prototypes over there that are just, well, they're cool. He's got a slip joint over there you're going to want to see if you have any inclination for slip joints at all. And he has the Rake Knives P865B First Impressions. That one's not for me, but it's still a kind of a neat knife the way they put it together. And Shortcut Reviews brings us the Spyderco Red Tenacious, now in 4K. I feel for him. Rendering 4K takes a long time. Anyhow, EDC Gear Reviews brings us a Tangram Amarillo Budget Knife Review. Another one of those Tangrams in the Acuto 440. And I haven't done a whole lot of testing. I've done a lot of use on some of that Acuto 440 from the, was it Santa Fe? And I'm pretty impressed for a budget steel so far. Pretty impressed. And, well, there's more to talk about with that Tangram series that we'll get to at some point. And, Epic Snuggle Bunny, he brings us some goats. Goats and bunnies, guys. That is the VDK goats, the big one and the little one. The Snuggle Bunny's got them for you. And House of Wisdom brings us the Arcform Slimfoot. Says it's a chunky knife with a smooth action. I'd have to agree. I've handled those. Not a knife for me, so unfortunately we haven't seen one here on the channel. But They do have a super nice, smooth action. And he also has a coning Arius. And that is a cool knife I've just never been able to bring myself to buy. I know I said that I was going to go see Bill and buy one at Blade Show this year. And I went by the booth and I had things I had to do. And I barely had time to just glance over the booth. And one of these days, I will have an Arius. One of these days. And Pivot Heads brings us a wee Rectifier with commentary. You know, it only takes a minute of your life, guys. Go over there and watch the Pivot Heads. And Blade Banter brings us an unknown video because yours truly goofed it up. Hang on. Now I remember it is the Magnum Alligator by Boker. And that is kind of a cool looking knife. I know that Boker has kind of a reputation, but you may want to check this one out. And Cutlery Lover brings us the Microtech Tachyon 3. And for you Bally guys out there, Microtech makes some really good stuff. The only problem with the Microtech Balisongs is I know that many of you Balisong guys feel the need and have the need to take apart and repair your Balisongs, make sure that they have proper tensions and everything. And Microtech does use their tri-ring screws on the Balisongs, which is unfortunate. But of course, you can buy the tri-wing little tool if you can find one. But anyhow, still a very cool knife, and Cutlery Lover will tell you all about it. Knife Crazy comes out of the asylum with an awesome one. It's the Kershaw Knockout in M390. So many of you ask me, I get these emails all the time, asking, what should I get at under $100? And every time I get one of those emails, I generally respond with, if you can spend $100, the Wee knives and D2 are great. If you're really going for under $100, the Bestech D2, the Tuya D2, and the US-made Kershaws. Well, these knives one-up the normal US-made Kershaws, and they stick M390 in them. I do also say that if you can find an M390 or an S35VN at one of the retailers, that's the way to get the US-made Kershaws, because, man, they come in at great prices. And the Knockout in M390 is just beautiful. And EDC with Aaron brings us the 803 Rectifier. And guys, that kind of wraps it up for the news this week. I really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate you guys following along. And I really appreciate everyone's support for the Todd Knife and Tool stuff. I know that the channel has been a little belated, I guess you could say, on some of the newer stuff. And that's because I've been dealing with a lot of Todd Knife and Tool stuff over the past couple of weeks. And I knew I was, so I recorded a bunch of knew I'd have to, so I recorded a bunch of content ahead of time. But over the next week or two, I don't know if I'm going to get fully back on schedule with that stuff, with the videos, but we should be seeing some newer content from Blade Show and from some of the newer stuff that's out there. And I really appreciate you guys' support. Don't forget to hit us up over on Patreon and check out the apexnews.com. That's where we keep the show notes for the Apex podcast. And it's where the best copy of the show notes will always be. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.